Om Sadashivasamarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Om. In the previous sessions, I pointed out that the scriptures first present an ideal infrastructure for the fulfillment of the human goals or purusharthas, and after presenting the infrastructure, the scriptures also present a course of discipline for the accomplishment of these goals. And this course of discipline we classified into three, namely Karma Yoga, Upasana Yoga, and Jnana Yoga. Upasana Yoga is otherwise known as Samadhi Yoga also. Of these three, we have briefly seen what is Karma Yoga and what is Upasana Yoga, and today I propose to deal with the topic of Jnana Yoga. Jnana Yoga means a course of discipline meant for gaining knowledge. Jnana Praptyartham Yoga. And when you talk about a course of discipline meant for jnanam or knowledge, naturally the question will come, knowledge of what? Because knowledge always should have an object of knowledge. So here we point out that in the context of Jnana Yoga, the word Jnanam refers to self-knowledge or Atma Jnanam, knowledge regarding oneself. And when we say knowledge regarding oneself, we already have some knowledge about ourselves. Our date of birth, the name of our parents, and our height, our weight, and the special marks to identify. So we do have some knowledge about our superficial personality. But what we discuss in Jnana Yoga is the knowledge of the essential nature of I, the basic nature of I, the real nature of I, or the higher nature of I, Para Prakriti. You may call it real I, essential I, basic I, higher I, whatever word you use. In the scriptures, the real I is called Atma. Therefore, Jnana Yoga means Atma Jnana Yoga, a course of discipline meant for gaining self-knowledge. And what is the purpose of gaining this self-knowledge? The scriptures point out, self-knowledge gives us freedom or moksha purushartha, the highest goal called moksha. So, Jnana Yoga mokshartham. Then comes the natural question, what do you mean by moksha? I have already briefly talked about moksha in my first talk while dealing with dharma, artha, kama, moksha, purushartha. We can give different definitions, but I will remind you the very same definition I told you there. Moksha is freedom from bondage or dependence. And the bondage caused by what? Bondage caused by the first three purusharthas, namely dharma, artha and kama. So dharmartha kamas themselves cause a bondage, or for that matter, anything or being in the creation can cause bondage. What type of bondage it is? I told you there, bondage is of two types. When an object is present for me, the object is there with me, the presence of objects cause a bondage called bharaha, the stress or strain of handling that object or a person. Handling the object, handling the person, handling the relationship itself, especially if it is a human relationship, that itself becomes a very big bharam causing stress and strain. In fact, many people, when they face a problem, it is the stress and strain caused by human relationship. So thus, presence of objects causes a type of problem called bharaha or weight, and the absence of objects creates another type of problem called emptiness or loneliness. So without them, I feel empty. With them, I feel drained. So I am not very sure whether I want them or I don't want them. When I don't have them, I crave to have them. And once I have them, I crave for freedom. ஏதாவது ஆசிரமத்துக்கு கொஞ்ச நாளைக்கு போகலாமா? So this is the tyranny of the world. It is with me one type of problem. It is not with me another type of problem. Either way I am in a soup. This is called ubhayatah pasha rajjuhu. Either way it is a problem. And by moksha we mean I am free from this problem caused by the world. Which means the presence of objects will not cause strain in me if I am a free person, and the absence of objects will not create emptiness in me. The presence of people will not create the strain of relating, and the absence of people will not create a loneliness without a companion. எனக்கு ஒரு companion இல்லை சொல்றாளோ இல்லையோ, that is what is called by loneliness. So if I can have dharmartha kama when they are there, and I can be happy even if the dharmartha kamas are not there, either way I am fine. This is called freedom. With objects I am fine, without I am fine. With people I am fine, without people I am fine. Krishna beautifully presents this in Gita. Naivatasya kritenarthaha na akriteneha kaschana na chasya sarva bhuteshu kaschidartha vyapashraya. And this freedom is the result of self-knowledge. And this inner freedom expresses in the form of threefold virtues which are very useful for human life. This inner freedom gives me threefold virtues which are very, very useful for my life, which virtues are beautifully presented in a well-known prayer called the Serenity Prayer. It's a beautiful prayer. Serenity Prayer. Serenity means balance of mind, samatvam. In this prayer, we address the Lord and ask for these three virtues. O Lord, grant me the serenity to accept what cannot be changed in life. O Lord, grant me the courage to change what can be changed in life. And O Lord, grant me the wisdom to know what can be changed and what cannot be changed, especially with regard to family members. So, O Lord, grant me the serenity, grant me the courage, grant me the discrimination. These are the three virtues: acceptance, courage, and discretion. And by acceptance, we do not mean a negative acceptance. What cannot be cured has to be endured. What to do? That is a negative acceptance with a sense of feeling victimized. So here, by acceptance, we mean balanced, cheerful acceptance which will not lead to bitterness, an acceptance which does not produce hatred, which does not produce the sense of victimization, which will not produce a, sense of injustice being done to me, which will not produce any negative reaction, which I call healthy acceptance. So life will become beautiful if I can healthily accept all the choiceless situation and courageously change what can be transformed, and am able to discern which is which. These are the three virtues which is the benefit of the freedom that I get through self-knowledge. Now the next question is, how can I get self-knowledge? What is the discipline of Jnana Yoga that I should follow to gain the knowledge of myself? Now we say, any jnanam can be attained only by one method. Any jnanam can be attained only through one method, and that method is by using the instrument of knowledge. Any knowledge can be acquired only by using an instrument of knowledge. In Sanskrit, an instrument of knowledge is called pramanam. It's a very important technical word. Pramanam means an instrument of knowledge. The one who uses the instrument of knowledge is called pramata, and the knowledge that is generated, that is jnanam, is known as prama, and the object that is known is called prameyam. Thus pramata uses pramanam and acquires prama with regard to the prameyam. Without using an instrument of knowledge, you cannot get the knowledge. For example, if I have to get the knowledge of the color of an object, I have no option other than using the instrument called the eyes. If I want to know what is the sound, I have to use the instrument of ears. Without using the eyes, varna jnanam cannot take place. Without using the ears, shabda jnanam cannot take place, etc. And our scriptures have made an elaborate study on this pramanam topic. And they point out that there are 5 instruments of knowledge at our disposal. We have got 5 instruments of knowledge at our disposal. And since these 5 instruments of knowledge are available for human beings, they are called paurusheya pramanani. Paurusheya pramanam means what? The instruments of knowledge available at the disposal of human beings. What are the 5? I am not going to elaborately discuss. This is supposed to be introductory or summarizing topic. Therefore, I will hint at them. The first one is called perception. You get knowledge by using the 5-fold sense organs, the eyes, the ears, the nose, the tongue, and the skin. And by perceiving through the 5 sense organs, you get the knowledge, perceptual knowledge. Therefore, perception is instrument 1. The second one is called inference. In Sanskrit, first one is called pratyaksham. The second one is called inference or anumanam. The third is called postulate. In Shastra, arthapattihi. The fourth one is called comparison. In Sanskrit, upamanam. And the fifth one is called non-cognition. In Sanskrit, anupalabdhihi. You need not bother about the details. You just note this much. Hopefully, at some time I can dwell on them elaborately. Note this much. Pancha paurusheya pramanani. And for all practical purposes, we can reduce these 5 into 2, perception and inference. These 5 can be termed as 2 for our practical purposes. Perception and inference are the 2 methods by which we acquire all all knowledge. All sciences are functioning based on perception and ignorance. Now we have to find out which pramanam should I use for gaining a particular knowledge, especially self-knowledge. And this Shastra points out, the instrument that you make use of will depend upon the object that you want to know. It does not depend on your fancy. The instrument of knowledge depends upon the object of knowledge. It does not depend on the will and fancy of the person. If I have to know the color of an object, I have no choice. I have to use only my eyes. I cannot say we are all free people. Why should I obey somebody else? I will use my ears only to know the color. Cannot do that. So where you don't have freedom, may you have the courage to change where you have to change the instrument of knowledge. Chamatta lakshanama, use your eyes. Don't be arrogant or adamant. So we have to always say, Jnanam is acquired by using the appropriate pramanam. That appropriate is very important. And now, here we want to gain self-knowledge, and I have to find out which instrument or pramanam I should use. And when I make an inquiry, I get into a snag, a big problem. And what is the problem? All the 5 instruments at my disposal are extrovert instruments capable of studying only the objective world. All the instruments at our disposal are capable of only gaining the knowledge of the external world, the objective universe. None of these instruments is capable of studying the very subject behind this instrument. This is the intrinsic limitation of Pancha Pramanani. This is the intrinsic limitation of perception and inference. In fact, this is the intrinsic limitation of science. Science never recognized this limitation before. Now only some scientists are acknowledging this intrinsic limitation of science. And what is the intrinsic limitation? Science can study only the objective universe. It can never study the student, studying the student. Studying the subject, science cannot do. So it is exactly like our own eyes. The eyes can perceive everything in the creation, but unfortunately, the eyes have got a peculiar limitation. What is that limitation? Eyes cannot see what? Themselves. Because it is extrovert. It can never study itself. Therefore, the law is subject is never subject to objectification. Subject is never available for objective study. Therefore, eyes are incapable of seeing the eyes themselves. Similarly, the other I cannot study myself. The eyes cannot study themselves. I cannot study myself. So self-knowledge will be elusive for the human being and all the material sciences. Then is there a way out? There is a way out. And what is that way? If I have to see my own eyes, I have to learn to take the help of another external object, another external factor I should introduce. And what is that factor? I have to use a mirror to see my eyes. I should be humble enough to accept that my eyes cannot directly see themselves, and therefore I require the assistance of an external factor called the mirror, and with the help of the mirror, I can see my own eyes. Similarly, all the Paurusheya Pramanams are inadequate to give me self-knowledge unless I introduce a sixth Pramanam or a sixth factor which will serve as a mirror for gaining self-knowledge. I have to accept the necessity of a sixth pramana, which is not in my hands. Just as mirror, I have to bring from outside. The sixth pramana must come from outside. And that sixth pramana is called Shastra Pramana, the scriptural teaching, otherwise called Shabda Pramana. And this Shastra Pramana or Shabda Pramana is not already with me. It has to be brought from outside like a mirror, and therefore it is called Apaurusheya Pramana. Apaurusheya Pramana means not naturally available to the human being, but it has to be brought from outside. And this Shastra Pramana has been gifted to us, just as Bhagavan has given mirrors for seeing our own face. Imagine mirrors are not there. Eternally your beauty, assuming, eternally your beauty will not be available for you. What a tragedy. So Bhagavan has gifted you a mirror to enjoy your superficial beauty, and Bhagavan has given you a scriptural mirror to enjoy your inner beauty. Local mirror for enjoying the outer beauty, the scriptural mirror to enjoy your inner beauty. If you refuse to use the mirror, who is going to be the loser? Nobody. And therefore comes the sixth pramana, the Shastra Pramana, the Shabda Pramana, the Apaurusheya Pramana, using which alone we can get self-knowledge. And the next thing that we come to know is, even though the mirror is capable of showing you your beautiful face, to enjoy the benefit, you should know how to use the mirror properly. So you should know which is the front side of the mirror, which is the back side of the mirror. So anything will help you only if you know how to use. We take things for granted. In the same way, Shastram or scriptures can help you only if you study the scriptures properly. And if you handle the scriptures properly, you can see your beauty, you can get self-knowledge. And when I try to study the scriptures, use the scriptures myself, I get into another big problem. Because scriptures, unlike all other forms of literature, scriptures use a peculiar method to impart self-knowledge. Because of the uniqueness of the subject matter, that is the self, and because of the uniqueness of the knowledge, the scriptures make use of a unique method. What is the uniqueness here? Normally, whenever I read a book, what is my orientation? Normally, all books deal with varieties of objects in the creation, places in the creation, people in the creation. Books deal with various objects in the creation. Therefore, my orientation is I should get the information first. First information, FIR. Okay, first I should get the information, and later I should convert that into direct experience by contacting the object. I read what is Niagara Falls. I get the information, and when I go actually and come face to face with that, I will get direct experience born of contact. Therefore, our orientation in any study is information, direct experience, dichotomy. Any knowledge, when you get through books, it has got two stages: information stage, direct experience stage. But when it comes to self-knowledge, the problem is we do not have these two stages at all. Because if you are talking about these two stages, what should be the first stage? I should get the information. Then how will I get the direct experience? When I come in contact with the self. When I come in contact with the self, I should get direct experience. But unfortunately, you will never come in contact with the self because you are the self. So therefore, the information direct experience dichotomy does not exist in self-knowledge. But we always study the scriptures with this orientation of first book knowledge, then direct experience. First information, then direct realization. So because of this orientation problem, we never know how to utilize the scriptures properly, and therefore we never get the self-knowledge if we study the scriptures. Because in self-knowledge, there is no information, no direct experience. These two stages are not there. Is self-knowledge and information? No. Is self-knowledge a direct experience? No. Then what is self-knowledge? Self-knowledge. Or if you want a different language, I will say self-knowledge is freedom from self-ignorance. That's all. And therefore, scriptural study is different from studying other books. And therefore, scriptural study requires a different type of operation, a different type of method, which is called Jnana Yoga. And this Jnana Yoga consists of threefold exercise. This Jnana Yoga consists of a threefold exercise known as Shravanam, Mananam, and Nididhyasanam. What are they? Shravanam means exposing myself to the scriptural teaching handled by a competent guide. Because I said it is unlike the study of another objective literature. If you study the scriptures, you end up in information experience dichotomy. Either you are trapped in information or you are eternally trapped in search of direct experience. Wild goose chase. Therefore, if you should not be trapped in this, it should be handled by someone who knows how to expertly handle and remove the orientation of information experience and gives self-knowledge, removing self-ignorance. Imagine Karna's dialogue with Kunti. Kunti informs Karna, I have got 6 children. And Karna says, I know 5 of them, Pandavas. He can never forget. Thunginala avada nyavathukku varum. And therefore Karna asked Kunti, O Kunti, I would like to know and meet the 6th son of Kunti. First I want information and thereafter direct contact. Now imagine Kunti says, Tat Tvam Asi. The 6th son happens to be yourself. And imagine Karna says, now I have got information that I am the 6th son. Kunti, please tell me, where can I meet that 6th son? I have got the information that I am the 6th one. Please tell me, how can I directly meet? It doesn't exist. It is only removal of ignorance regarding the 6th son. There is no question of information, experience, dichotomy in certain cases. Therefore, Shravanam is exposing myself to the systematic teaching or handling of the scriptures done by an expert guide and for a length of time. Because orientation breaking takes time. This is Shravanam. And this Shravanam has to continue for a length of time, during which time no questions are allowed. We have to only get the comprehensive teaching from all angles, in all aspects, in its totality. And this process is called Shravanam. Even if you are not able to accept a part of the teaching, even if you have got a doubt regarding a particular aspect of the teaching, you are allowed to keep aside those questions and doubts and listen with an open mind. You are free to disagree with the teacher. Teacher will not curse. நான் சொல்றத ஒத்துக்கலையா பிடி சாபம் கிடையாது. You are allowed to disagree and keep your questions intact aside and listen totally. Be patient. Shravanam requires a lot of patience. Never come to a conclusion. Never be judgmental. Never be critical. And then comes the second exercise called mananam. After comprehensively listening, after exposing to the teaching for a length of time, I bring out all my questions. And generally, the beauty of this teaching is, by the time you complete the study systematically, doubts will not be there, generally. Because the scriptures themselves handle the possible question. That's why it is in the form of a dialogue. Kuru Shishya Samvada. Shishya will ask the question which you have. But even if you have got doubts, you are given full freedom to your rational mind, your logical mind, your scientific mind, your intellectual acumen. It is given full scope. Any blessed question you want, you can ask. And the teacher is available to answer or to help the student in removing all kinds of doubts, because doubts are obstacles to knowledge. Therefore, mananam removes all the obstacles in the intellect and makes the knowledge into doubtless knowledge or conviction. Nissamshaya jnanam. With regard to what? My essential nature. My superficial nature, everybody knows, I also know before. My essential nature. My real nature, my higher nature. So thus, Shravanam removes ignorance, Mananam removes doubts or intellectual problem. And then comes the process called Nididhyasanam, which is the process of internalization or assimilation of this knowledge and the removal of my habitual behavior. So the present behavior I have developed very, very gradually. It is a habit. It is a conditioning that I have. I have to decondition myself. This process is called Nididhyasanam or assimilation, because only when that habitual behavior goes away, I get the full benefit of this knowledge. Otherwise, it will be like this story. Okay, brief story. It seems there was a barbers' association. Association is there for everything. And these people wanted to celebrate their anniversary. And they wanted to have a drama, Ramayana. And all the actors are, of course, barbers. Because barbers' association anniversary. And therefore they did the rehearsal very well. Rama, Sita, Dasharatha, all those people. And then came the crucial day. So Dasharatha, with all the ornaments, he is a king outside inside barber. Okay. So he is a king outside with all ornaments and all. And Vishwamitra is another barber with a lot of dadi and meesha, Rishi, remember. And therefore, Vishwamitra has to come and ask for Rama to protect the yaga. And then Vishwamitra enters. And what should Dasharatha do? Varungal, Varungal, please come. Amarungal, what do you want? What can I do? So he has done rehearsal very well, all right. But the stage, so many people are there, thousands of people. And at the crucial moment, he said, Varungal, Varungal, Dasharathare, Amarungal, cutting or shaving. Do you want a haircut? Because remember, he has got such a big hair. Pate. Every time in barber shop, what does he say? Varungal, Amarungal, cutting or shaving. So this is called inside barber. Outside he is Dasharatha. Similarly, we have been samsaris, petty, bitter, ignorant people. And that personality has influenced our responses, our goals. Everything has been governed by our idea about ourselves. How you behave depends upon how you look at yourself. Every behavior depends upon your self-image. And as long as you have a miserable self-image, your behavior will be miserable. And even if Guru transforms the self-image, the old self-image continues for a length of time. And therefore, we require some time in which we should allow the transformation to take place. And that process is called Nididhyasanam, in which I keep in touch with Shastram. Even though the study part is over, I keep in touch with the Shastram, or I keep in touch with the Jnanis, wise people, Sat Sangha or Shastra Sangha, I continue because the association influences my personality. And not only I keep in touch with Shastra, I lead an alert life monitoring my responses and making sure that every response in every situation is governed by the new teaching, not governed by the old misunderstood personality. This is called Nididhyasanam, assimilation process. And assimilated knowledge alone nourishes me. Like assimilated food alone nourishes me. It is not the amount of food that I eat that matters, but the amount of food that I digest alone matters. That's why Swami Chinmayananda nicely puts, you have gone through 10 Upanishads, wonderful. But how many Upanishads have gone through you? That's important. Going through 10 Upanishads is not important. Has one Upanishad gone through you? And therefore, Shravanam plus Mananam plus Nididhyasanam is Jnana Yoga. And this Jnana Yoga will give self-knowledge. Self-knowledge will give moksha, which means I am free in the presence of things, in the absence of things, in the presence of people, in the absence of people, in the presence of my life and even in death. And this is Jnana Yoga, the subtlest form of sadhana. And you should remember, all the three yogas, Karma Yoga, Upasana Yoga, and Jnana Yoga, are compulsory for all people. As I said before, they are not given as optional yogas. Everybody requires, and the culmination is in self-knowledge, which gives me moksha. And if at all there is a person who comes to Jnana Yoga without Karma Yoga or Upasana Yoga, he cannot be successful first. It is like directly going to MSc Mathematics without going to LKG, UKG, primary, secondary, all those things. And if at all a person skips Karma and Upasana and successfully gains Jnanam, Shastra says he must have gone through both of them in past Janma. But one thing, in the past Janma or present Janma, a person should go through all these yogas. And if you study the ashrama scheme, you will find that the 4 ashramas are designed for the pursuit of these 3 yogas only. Even though these 3 are not airtight compartments, all the 3, not that you finish one, you go to the second, it is not like that. There is a domination of one yoga at a particular stage of life. In Brahmacharya Ashrama, it is primarily studying the theory. What is life? What is the goal? Brahmacharya Ashrama is study-oriented. And then the other 3 ashramas are meant for predominantly practicing the 3 yogas. Grihasthashrama is Karma Yoga Pradhanaha. Vanaprasthashrama is Upasana Yoga Pradhana. And Sannyasa Ashrama is Jnana Yoga Pradhana. These 3 different infrastructures are presented for predominantly practicing these 3 yogas. Even if you do not go through these 4 ashramas physically, you will have to make the appropriate modifications in your lifestyle depending upon which yoga you dominantly practice. And therefore, adjust the infrastructure, follow the 3 yogas, gain knowledge, and be free. And being a free person, either enjoy dharma, artha, kama presence, or enjoy the absence of dharma, artha, kama. This is the vision of all the scriptures, primary as well as secondary. More in the next session. Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.